Hi Finxters, and welcome to today's video. It's Chris, founder of Finxter.com, and in today's video I'm going to address the topic a case for a rising productivity through remote work. So I think we are on the verge of like the golden age, and I'm pretty alone with this opinion because like many people are really pessimistic about the future, also pessimistic about all kinds of developments in automation and machine learning and so on. But I'm really optimistic because I see a big surge in productivity ahead because of the development of remote work and freelancing. I think these are two mega trends that will have a significant impact on our daily life, and that's why I created this presentation. And I'm a researcher by heart, so I did my doctoral research 2 years ago. I finished it at University of Stuttgart. So I addressed this topic like a bit more from a researcher point of view. So I collected many statistics and facts, and I tried to create a convincing argument that shows why. So why do we have productivity gains? Where do they come from, and how the economic machine will emerge as a result? Okay, so let's start. The title is A Case for Rising Productivity Through Remote Work. And my thesis is that we will see a mega productivity surge ahead in the next decade. So with this, I mean like 20-30% increase in productivity, and also as a result, a significant boost in the economic value you generate every year. And I mean, how this value is then distributed is another question. For example, will it be distributed via some government supplements, or will it be like partly taxed, or will only the corporations make more money and the stockholders gain all the productivity? But I mean, this is another question. It's more political question. But I just want to analyze the economic fact and why I'm really optimistic about the future development. Good. So there are basically 3 observations, and I will just go over the observations. The first observation is that there is a paradigm shift towards remote freelancing. Okay, so up till say 2020, normality was that you work at a company at a given location. So this company exists at a given location in your city. You work there, so you go there like every morning. You wake up, go to work, go through commute. You go to work, and then you work there for 8 hours or so. You move back to home. So this is this is a normality. This is what most people, most workers in the modern societies were doing. And so they work at a company location. They are employed. And from 2021 onwards, we will see more and more a shift in this normality. So we will see a new normality where people work remotely, and they often work as freelancers. So the combination work remotely and being a freelancer will be more and more dominant in the decades to come. And I mean, you don't have to be, you just have to look at the facts, how they exist today, and we will have a look at many of those facts in the subsequent four sheets that I will show you. Okay, so I mean, because of there was this huge trend towards remote work based on the COVID-19 situation, where people were physically forced basically to work remotely, and suddenly we have seen that 60-70% of the workforce, like of millions of workers in the US and throughout the world, just worked from home, and the economy was still functioning properly. And we have seen, like, this is not even like, we have seen the biggest experiment towards remote work in the history of humanity. So basically, we have seen that it works. That still, I mean, the economy is still very strong. We still have we still produce all the goods we need, and we still, like, stock prices are on the rise and so on. I mean, you can have a negative outlook towards the economy, but you cannot really argue that we have lost significant productivity through this big experiment of instantly putting 70% or 60% of our workers into the situation where they have to work remotely. Okay, so this is just economic reality today. There's nothing like visionary about this. And but if you see some big trends, like global trends, say you search, you analyze the Google trends from year 2004 onwards, so this is like this last 70 years or so, you see that the interest in remote work was increasing steadily, and then by leaps and bounds in the last few years. Okay, so remote work becomes more and more popular, more and more people are interested in this topic, and this trend will just continue to become more and more relevant for many people, because of the increasing number of technologies that actually enable remote work. I mean, oftentimes, even if you work in the same office with another person, you still communicate with them via email, you still maybe have a Skype call, even if you are in the same office or on a different floor, even in the same building but on a different floor. Oftentimes you just call them by phone, and so many of the communication is already virtual. It doesn't really matter whether you are now in the same building or whether you are at different locations altogether. So, or maybe one person works in one country and in the US and the other person works in Europe. It doesn't really matter. I mean, I myself, I have co-authors all around the world at different locations, and we just chat like as we would sit close to each other. So remote work, through the increase in technology and the development of new technologies, and also through economic realities and like the COVID situation and so on, we will see an increase in relevance of remote work in the upcoming decades. Okay, and then at the same time, freelancing is also on the rise. So if you check the Google Trends for the same period from 2004 onward, you see if the interest in freelancing is also on the rise. So, but I mean, if this is not enough for you, then just have a look at some company stocks, and also like the stocks, they usually develop. Like the stock price of a company usually increases if the company also increases their output, so their economic results, like their earnings or their sales and so on. For example, if you look at Upwork stock, so Upwork is a company for remote work. Remote freelancing work, and Upwork stock was rising, Fiverr stock was rising, Zoom video communication was rising. So all the remote stocks and remote companies who enable remote work and freelancing work are on the rise. So these companies are the big winners in our times. So, and therefore, like, this is another indicator that remote work and freelancing are on the rise. Also, you can check out just some bare statistics. Number of freelance workers in the US is rising, like the big picture trend is rising. 41% of American workforce are already freelanced in 2020. Not all of them are full-time freelancers, but also the chunk of work of all of those people, chunk of freelancing, the percentage of freelancing work is increasing among those people. And at the same time, non-freelancers only grew by 2%. So the number of freelancers grows faster than the number of employees, which means that the fraction of the freelancers will increase over time. So and freelancing will increase in relative importance to employment over the next decades ahead. 28% of Americans are already full-time freelancers, and this has increased by 17% from just 5, 6, 7 years. I mean, you have to, like, these numbers, these are big trends, because these population trends usually are very slow. But if something increases by 70% over a short period of time, like 5, 6, 7 years, it's really a big trend, and it really can have a significant it will have a significant impact. And also, if you look at the younger generation, I mean, the younger generation, you can see our future by just looking at the younger generation, and you see 53% of Generation Z, which are the 18 to 22-year-old, choose the freelancing route. So already, like, the fraction of younger people doing freelancing increases a lot. And if you ask people, also many of them they would just prefer to be their own boss, being the freelancer. And I mean, if all the people want to do something, then usually this is also what happens in a society. Okay, so many people want freelancing. Freelancing is a big mega trend these days. So you may argue, okay, they are doing freelance work, but do they also work remotely? And the answer is yes. Yeah, so many of them, like more 88% of the people argue that state that they work from home. Some of them work in cafes or remote cities or client offices or co-working space even. Some of them in private offices, and university and libraries also a popular way to work. And you see also the flexibility where you work. I mean, if you're an employee, usually you have to work at the company, at a given company. I mean, this also has changed through COVID-19 and so on. But yeah, the combination freelancing and remote work is really a fruitful combination. You can work wherever you want. You can work in a cafe or a co-working space, or just at a library. So I myself, sometimes I work at cafes, libraries, and other people's places and so on. I visit my friends a lot, and then I just work at my friends. So this is like, you can work wherever you want as a freelancer, and this is really true. Many freelancers, like a big percentage of freelancers, actually work from home, and there are some implications, as we will see later in this report. Okay, so but first, overall, let's make this first observation really strong, so that it stands on statistical facts. Freelancers report higher life satisfactions. Okay, and 77% of full-time freelancers claim to have more time for people and things they care about. And also, like, this is 77% of freelancers. They are already working as freelancers. It's not a dream in their mind. They are already working as freelancers, and they believe they have more time for people they care about. And also 76% find the work more stimulating. 51% of full-time freelancers claim that no amount of money could get them to return to a traditional position. I mean, think about this. More than half of the freelancers, full-time freelancers, they would not return to being employed under like any circumstance, even if they would earn, say, $1 million per year. And like, what is the reason? If you, I've seen an interview with the Upwork CEO, and he argues that the previous Upwork CEO, he argues that that the reason for this is that many, like, freelancers value their independence, and many, for example, have moved to locations where they can only be if they work as remote freelancers. So for example, they move to the countryside and there are just no jobs. They cannot be employed at any company because there exists no company in their area. So they just live there and they work remotely. And if they would now want to switch back to being employed, they would have to move. But for many, this is just not possible. For example, if you, like, your husband or your wife, they work at another company or so, or they are like fixed to the location. Or your kids, they just go to school, they like school. Or you have friends in your local environment. You don't want to move. Like, moving is a lot of friction. People don't want to move, and many people, they would not move under any circumstance. Like, and if you have like if you see this, like, if you see this fact, 51% of full-time freelancers, they argue that no amount of money could get them to return to a traditional position. So more people move from being employed to being freelanced. We have seen this in the previous slides. And many of them, more than half of them, never move back. So think about this. What is the mathematical implication? Like, there's a very clear mathematical implication that that the relative importance of freelancing is just increasing. I mean, there's nothing, it's like a mathematical fact. You cannot argue against this. Okay, so so there's also a McKinsey study called Independent Work, Choice, Necessity, and the Gig Economy. And like, there are many results of this study. It's very, like, it's not even readable, but just so that you see that the result, like, the study was independently performed, and they interviewed a lot of full-time freelancers and part-time freelancers, and the results are that independent workers, say, like freelancers, independent workers is the same, love the topics in their work more than employees. Independent workers are more satisfied with their work. They are more satisfied with the number of hours they put into the work. They feel more, they feel better. They are independent, self-reliant. They enjoy their work atmosphere more than employees. They feel more empowered than employees. They are more satisfied with creativity they can impress compared to employees. They love to be able to choose the hours they work. They are more satisfied with the opportunities to learn and grow compared to employees. They are more flexible and so on. They are more satisfied and with the salaries and with the income they receive. So like across the bank, there are a lot of positives reported by freelancers. So it seems to be that there's some inherent advantage of freelancing compared to employees. So and this seems to be this like the arguments that speak for this trend. They are really strong. They are convincing, and this will probably cause the relative importance of freelancing to rise significantly, even to explode. And sometimes in the future, we will maybe even see a change of the percentage. So we will see so in the last in the last decades, after like the industrial revolution, we have seen a rise of employees. Yeah, so we like our normality is that most people work as employees, but this is like there's no natural law or so that requires us to structure a society into majority of being employed. So actually, if you look at the history of humanity, the concept of employment is a very young concept, and it hasn't even existed, say 200, 300, 400 years ago. So employment is a younger concept. It has taken the world by storm, but then it's also like it's not a law that it will always be the same. Yeah. So currently we just see that freelancing increases in importance. This is just what happens. Nothing like it doesn't require us to predict or project too many numbers. Yeah, we just observe what's happening, and we observe that freelancing relatively becomes more and more important. And at some point, it will be more important than being employed, and maybe employment. Maybe we have seen the highest percentage of employed people in the history of humanity already. Who knows? Good. So the first observation then obviously is undermined by many statistical facts. The first observation was that freelancing and remote work are on the rise. Yeah. So society will change. We will see more and more freelancers in our economy, and we will see more and more remote work in our economy. The next observation is that there are efficiency gains through remote work. Okay, so what do I mean? So I have searched many different resources, online, offline, research papers, and government sites. Like I give references here. These are like government sites, and if you check out, there is a direct gain of remote doing work remotely, and this is that you reduce commute time. So what does this mean? What is the economic effect of this, of reducing commute time? So if you look at official government data, you see that the mean travel time to work is 26 minutes. This is just one way. So if you have two ways, going to work and going back to work back home, is 52 minutes per day. This is like the average worker is in commute 52 minutes per day just for work. Okay, this if you count this together, it's 260 hours per year. If you just use the average hourly rate of $29 per hour, this average rate of workers in the US, according to government statistics, you see the economic value of reducing commute time through remote work is $7,540 per year per person. Okay, so this is if you look at your income, if you could do remote work and you could get all the benefits of all the economic benefits of this. For example, if you are a freelancer, you are doing remote work instead of working at a company. So who will get the benefits? You will get them, because you can spend the commute time into work. You can work instead of doing commute time. This will just increase your income by $7,500 per year already. Only this small detail, like reducing commute time, but there are many more. For example, another direct gain of remote work is that you save commute expenses, not only time but also expenses. So what does this mean? Most people actually possess a car or pay for cars. But if you pay for cars and you travel 52 minutes per day, then you spend $9,900 per year per person. So you spend it just traveling to work by car. This is only the work-related traveling routes. Okay, so it's not the non-work related. So I mean, this comes on top of that. So almost $10,000 you spend just driving with your own car to work and back. This is what you spend percentage-wise. And if you use public transport, then you still spend $2,300 per year traveling for public transport. I mean, these numbers are quite impressive. I think quite staggering, because if you work remotely, I'm not even talking about freelancing. I'm just talking about the benefits of working remotely for a society or for you as an individual. It's like more than $10,000 just by saving the time and saving the money to being stuck in commute every day. But then there's also another gain. Like, this is also a direct consequence of reducing your commute time. In economic terms, the cost of road crash injuries is estimated at roughly 1% of the gross national product in low-income countries and 2% in high-income countries. And this is like an US government statistic. Okay, so I've just copied it. It's a very credible source, and they argue that it's 2% of high income countries. These are the direct costs of road crash injuries. So if you assume that your time on the road is 1.1 hours per day, this is the national average in the US. 75% of it is work related. This is just you traveling to work and back. This is the main reason you possess a car, statistically, and like 75% of all injuries are basically work-related injuries. They happen because people travel to work back and forth. Okay, and if you count it, I mean, just ignoring the value of your life that you can lose, or your health that you can lose being involved in this accidents, the economic costs are like $990 per person per year for work-related travel injuries. Okay, and if all people worked from home, these accidents would reduce dramatically by 75% or more, and you would save almost $1,000 per year, and you would live longer statistically. So these are like statistical and economic facts, direct consequences of reducing the travel time. And of course, I mean, if you don't look at the macro picture, but on the micro picture, on your own life, if you reduce your travel time, this will happen to you. I mean, your life expectancy will increase as a result, because you are not involved in the dangerous driving and being on the roads. You can use the time better. You will harvest all these economic benefits yourself if you are involved in remote work. And these are only the direct consequences of not being in commute. There are other benefits of remote work, which we will see in a moment. Yeah. So, but let's go deep into this topic. So, what are the gains for society if remote work is reduced? Like, we have gains in like environment. If I have looked up a study, and they argue that the environmental costs, it's only a part of the costs of using a car. But I think for the climate change, the cost of climate change is like 0.39 UK pence per vehicle kilometer. Okay, so we have like if you count, it's like 50 cents per kilometer you drive, and the ecological costs are 50 cents per kilometer. So if you drive like 80 kilometers or so per day to work, back and forth, you pay. Basically, this is you who pays it, because you pay the taxes, and you will finally pay the bill. You pay $43 per day just to compensate for the ecological cost, to compensate for the cost of climate change and so on, created by your decision to drive to work and back. Okay, so this is like for society, this is another $15,000 per year savings in environmental costs through remote work. Okay, so you see, it's like the potential savings of doing remote work. This is not even potential. We don't even have to guess or so. This is just looking at the facts, looking at statistics, is very significant. So if we summarize this, we see that no commute time has the direct gain $7,540 per year in terms of gained time value. Then we have monetary value, it's $9,900 per year. We have fewer accidents, $990 per year, and we have environmental gains which is $15,000 per year. So to sum everything up, so the median income is like $66,000 in the US, and half of that can be gained by reducing commute time. And the reason why this is already so, I mean, maybe if you're very conservative, it may be like 30. You may not want to count the environmental costs because you don't directly pay them. We all pay them collectively, in like the future generations actually pay them. But so you don't pay them today. Maybe you pay them only in 5 years or so, in 2 years or in 1 year. So if you deduct the cost of the environmental effects, you still pay like $18,000 per year for commute time. So if you could reduce your commute time, if you could work from home, work remotely, you could save $17,000 directly into your pocket per year. But then there's also, like, if we work remotely, of course there are also indirect effects. For example, there's a study from a Stanford study that shows that working from home can increase the performance, your productivity, by 13% or more, just because there are fewer distractions, like fewer meetings, more focus, more family time, more independence, and so on. So, and I work from home, and I can really I can really stress this point a lot. So I work much more productively because I'm not disturbed. I have like minimal distractions. I just work, focus, day in, day out, day out. So I have a very focused work routine. And sometimes I have remote conferences, like working over the phone or talking to clients, talking to customers, and so on. So there are significant positive effects of reducing distractions in our day. As knowledge workers, distractions can be really costly. They can have really like definite costs. Because each distraction costs you like 20 minutes or so. So if you check your phone once, like on average, you need 15 minutes to come back to the focused work. So every distraction, like having some coffees with your co-workers and so on, like co-workers just going in, giving you some tasks, or your boss just pops into your office and talks to you, like assigning some random work to you and so on. So these costs, they are hard to quantify. Therefore, we won't even try to quantify them. But the net indirect effects of remote work will be positive. So I'm pretty sure about this, and also, like you see, the research is pretty sure about this as well. So we have like the direct consequences, which is like $17,000 per year into your pocket by working remotely. But then you also have the indirect effects of being more productive, accomplishing more, and therefore earning more and having even higher economic benefits as a result. Okay, so we have now two observations. Let's check the third observation. Is it true that there are efficiency gains through freelancing? Now, we have seen there are efficiency gains through remote work, but what about freelancing? So first of all, this is also an obvious one. So I want to start with the obvious one, like commute time in the case of remote work. In the case of freelancing, we have idle time. And the reason is that you, as a company, if you hire an employee, you give them a monthly income or a yearly salary. Okay, so you pay them salary no matter what they are doing. You pay all for all their time. Yeah, basically. Yeah, so you have an exclusive right, or you own all the time of an employee, like 8 hours per day. You own all the 8 hours per day. But the problem is that the average employee only works 3 hours per 8-hour day. There are many distractions like wasteful meetings, coffee, social media, games, and chatting, and so on. But then there's also reported idle time. And I got this from a journal of psychology. They measured it and they asked many people, like a big study. And they found out that there are 2 hours and 45 minutes per day idle time. And this is like the employee, they want to work, but there's nothing productive to do. And therefore they work slowly, they do this and that, they wait for work to happen, basically. Yeah, this is called idle time. So idle time is, they could be productive, they could do something. And probably this idle time is also one of the reasons why the average employee works only 3 hours per day. Many of them, they want to work more, but there's nothing more to do for this in this particular company. So this is called idle time. And if you, like in the way we organize work today, it's like this. This idle time cannot be avoided because the company pays for all the day. They pay for all the 8 hours. So they won't send you away like if after 5 hours, if all the work is done, you usually cannot go home. You cannot sell the remaining 3 hours to another company or so, because the company owns 100% of your time, and the company won't sell your time to another company, to their competitor or so. Okay, the company will just pay you doing nothing. They won't, like, this is a resource that goes to waste, yeah, because we are just, all of us collectively, we are sitting in the office for hours, for like 2 to 3 hours every day. We are sitting there waiting for things to happen on average. Maybe it is not you, but this is like collectively, this is statistics, yeah. So 123 million workers, each having 2 hours 45 minutes daily idle time doing nothing. This time could be directly reinvested into doing something with purpose, some valuable work. And if you wonder, is there valuable work to do? Of course, of course, there is. As long as we have problems to solve, we have work to do. And you can only argue that there will be no work if we have solved all the problems. But we are not even close to solving all the problems. We have so many problems like climate change and medicine and health problems and poverty and hunger and so on. So we have many problems where we could actually invest this idle time. We can allocate the resources and get back much more than just sitting and staring into our screen. So as a society, we could tap into this resource. We could use it. This has an economic value, but we are currently not using it. Yeah, we are currently like sitting in office waiting for things to happen and sucking our thumbs. So if you calculate this, it's like $3.2 trillion US dollars paid for idle time in the US in the US economy. So we have the global US economy is 21.6 trillion. So it's like 13% of idle time. 14% of paid work you're doing, it could be completely removed, and it wouldn't hurt anyone. It wouldn't hurt you. You could work 14% less, and companies could pay 13% less, or any way you want to handle it. You can either have the benefit on the companies or on the employee, or maybe both of them. Yeah, so the company could pay you 7% less, and you work for or maybe they pay you 14%. They pay you the same, and you work 14% less or so. Yeah, so you can distribute the economic value as you want. But this is just a political question. But this is not a political talk. This is just a statistical or data-driven presentation. And you see that 14% of this idle time can be actually 14% of all the time you are working is idle time, and it could be removed completely from society. It could be like removed and replaced with some purpose work, or even just watching Netflix, and it wouldn't cause any economic harm. Yeah, so we would still have the same productivity and everything just by removing the idle time. And if you look at this, idle time can be removed very simply by freelancing platforms. Just slicing your time into small units. Like as a freelancer, you sell your times in small units. You can just 100% remove idle time. It's very simple. Freelancing allows this to do. Good. Then there's also a direct consequence of freelancers compared to employees, that we have access to the world's talent. So every company can now access all the world's talents instantly. It's very simple to hire a freelancer. It doesn't cost a minute or so. You can do it in under a minute. So basically the friction of hiring a new freelancer are minimal. You can immediately access some of the world's best people in your field. And it doesn't cost you in terms of hiring costs. Yeah, so the cost per hire, this is a term from many agencies that broker talents. Cost per hire is $2,400 on average. So we have 157 million people employed in the US and a churn rate of about 25%. This means that on average every 4 years an employee will change the job on average. So we have 25% churn rate, which means that the we have 39 million hires per year. Average cost per hire is $2,400. So we have an economic cost of $93.6 billion in the US alone. I mean, worldwide, don't even talk about the worldwide costs. So in the US alone, we have $93.6 billion cost per hire per year just to find talent. And also, like freelancing, using freelancing platforms, it reduces this cost to pennies on the dollar, basically, yeah, because of like matching algorithms, machine learning, and also just the availability of talent, because there is a lot of talent. There are much more freelancers than there is work currently on the freelancing platforms. Yeah, so like for example, Upwork rejects many freelancers because they have too many freelancers on the platform to do the work. So therefore, there is no shortage of talent in the world. There just isn't. There's no shortage of talent. There's a lot of talent that can be accessed immediately via a freelancing platform. There's only a shortage of people who want to work at the location your company is. So for example, if you are a Silicon Valley company, you seek talent. Of course, I mean, all the people compete for the talent in the Silicon Valley range, yeah. So of all the people who live in the like 50 miles radius around your company, but if you can open the world and you can search talent globally, I mean, there's no shortage. You can access talent immediately. There's no costs per hire. Like cost per hire would be $1 or so. For like spending 2 minutes hiring, it would be $1 or so compared to $2,400. So the cost per hire can be reduced by freelancing platforms significantly. And this is also an economic benefit that is created by freelancing. Then there are also like many more effects that are not quantifiable. Much like in remote work, there are some remote work has positive effects such as reduced distractions and increased focus, increased productivity, and so on. But they are very hard to quantify. There are some unquantifiable effects of freelancing as well. For example, small companies, they can now afford to access world-class talent because they don't have to pay the talent the whole year. If they would pay the world-class talent for the whole year, it may cost them $1 million or so, or $200,000 for a machine learning engineer. But if they just want to hire this machine learning engineer for a day or two to create a machine learning model, they can do it, and it costs them only a few $100 or maybe $1,000 to do it for 2 days. So now even small companies with freelancing, even small companies can access small portions of time of world-class experts, and there are no lock-in effects. There are no companies, big tech companies like Google, Facebook, and so on, who just hire all of the best engineers and own them 100%. Yeah, because now no other company, even if they have idle time at Facebook and Google, no other company can hire these experts, these world-class coders working for those big companies. So therefore we have this lock-in effects. We previously had this lock-in effects, but freelancing changes this. Freelancing opens up the world, slices the time into small increments, and then this freelancer can sell the small increments, which reduces idle time. It increases work satisfaction, as we have seen previously. So freelancers are happier than employees. They are more independent. They have a higher sense of self-reliance and so on. So freelancers enjoy it more. For companies, it's also better. It's much better to allow this flexibility and hire freelancers on a gig basis or a project basis instead of hiring employees for years and not being able to let them go even if there's no work to do for them. Yeah, and there are some specialization effects as well. So for example, now with global freelancing platforms, a freelancer can decide to just focus on a micro niche, like creating a logo or so, or creating a small Python script, focus on a very small niche and mastering this niche, becoming world-class in this small, tiny niche. And because the niche is small, you actually can become world-class. You can be one of the top 1% in this niche, and you are just selling a few gigs every day. It costs you maybe 10 minutes or so per gig. So just throwing in some numbers, instead of other people who need 10 times or 100 times the time to accomplish the same result with lower quality results. Okay, the specialization can be really taken to the extreme with freelancing platforms, but it cannot be done in our current environment, or the environment of the previous decades, where people are owned 100% by companies. And I mean, you can specialize in a way but you cannot hyper specialize on one type of gig. Yeah. So solving the talent problem will yield massive productivity gains, but nobody knows how massive. What does massive mean? Okay, so therefore we will just ignore it for the purpose of this talk. So if we bring it together, we see that observation 1, we have a paradigm shift towards remote and freelancing, and we can see like a 30 to 40% of growth in the upcoming decade. So therefore we will have a situation where we have more freelancers than employed people. Already like 50% of the people are already working part-time or full-time as freelancers, and more people will decide to work full-time as freelancers, and they will never come back. As you have seen, 50% of them will never come back to being employed. Therefore we will have a shift. We will gradually enter into a world where more and more people are employed as freelancers, and fewer people percentage-wise are employed as employees. So freelancing will come, remote work will come. There's nothing that can stop it. With better tools like Zoom and like virtual reality, augmented reality, with these tools, remote work will become the new normal. It will. I mean, these are just trends you cannot change, you cannot stop, you cannot even argue against these trends because they will come. And as they come, the importance of remote work and freelancing will increase. And probably, this is my prediction, we will see like 90% of the people will be freelancers instead of employees in, say, 20 years or 10 years, or I don't know. The second observation is that we have efficiency gains through remote work. And we have seen these gains are between $17,000 and $33,000 per year, maybe even more if you consider the indirect effects of having more productive people working with fewer distractions. The third observation is that we have efficiency gains through freelancing as well. So we have seen that these can be more than 40% per year, also not considering the indirect effects of freelancing and of opening up this innovation that small companies can now access the world's best talent that was previously locked in by large companies. So, but this we just ignore it and we just focus on the 14% we know. Good, so the direct effects basically, yeah. So our thesis is mega productivity will surge ahead in the next decade. Okay, so we will see a massive rise. We will see, I'm very optimistic about the decade ahead. I think the productivity gains will just show up in all our lives. We will have better lives than we ever had before. We will have more time, more money to spend. We will have better, easier. It's easier to live actually in the upcoming decades than it was ever before at any point in human history. So I'm very optimistic about the future based on these trends. You see that there's a significant economic value creation of more than $12,000 per capita per year in the US. So I have added the question to give this some perspective. Would you like a $1,000 monthly pay raise working from home as a freelancer? I mean, this is just if you decided instead of working at a company at their location, you just work from home as a freelancer. Doing this, I mean, the work is more enjoyable. There are statistics showing this, and you just earn more. I mean, how great is that? I'm very optimistic about the future of work based on these trends. Good, and if you're interested in learning more, then check out our Python freelancer course from Finxter. So you will not only learn a new high income skill, which is Python programming, you will also learn business skills that are required as a freelancer. Like it's a combination, a hybrid approach between teaching you freelancing as a business person and as a Python coder, because you have to master both as a freelancer. And the average rate of a Python freelancer is $51 per hour in the US. So for example, you could decide, there are many ways of using this flexibly. So you can, for example, work for 2 hours per day on the side, earning, let's say, $3,000 per month. You can work 2 10-hour days per week, which will then yield $4,000 per month. You can also work like normal 40-hour week as a freelancer, earning you $8,160 per month as an average freelancer. Of course, you can become average. You can also become much better than average. This is just the average earning potential. Good, and the course will help you do this. So check out the course. You can get it at the link blog.finxter.com/become-python-freelancer-course. And if you haven't already joined, then join us. It's a great course, and Thanks for listening to this. I'm really excited about the opportunity of freelancing, the opportunities ahead, being a freelancer in today's world, today's marketplace, and the changes. And I see like there are many positive trends. If you look at the statistics and the facts, it's very convincing. This trend is here to stay. Thanks for listening to this video, and see you in the next video. Bye.